You know what I realized today? No one cares about your EDC gear.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow
So I
any
came to the
stone.
realization today that no one really cares about your EDC gear, your knife, your multi-tool, your flashlight, your pouch, any of that crap, except for EDC heads and those in the EDC community. I told myself I was gonna come over here and give some sound advice, bring over one of my favorite EDC carrying cases, the Vault, TSA approved case, give them all sorts of examples, but I realized there is a point of diminishing returns, especially for the common EDC knife buyer, and we got to have a serious conversation about it. So I guess I'll start off with my first category of knives. These knives are about at or below the $30 mark. So the first category of knives, we have them here around or about $30 or less. The first one here is some no-name knife that I bought on Amazon. Nothing special about it. It just kind of gets the job done. It is a G&W 440C steel. So, I mean, it's a mid-grade steel. It's not 440A or B. It's not AUS 8 or anything like that. It has a flipper. So you can either flip it out or you can use a thumb stud. This thing, I mean, it probably runs about 13 bucks, $6, $12. There's so many like this on Amazon. Metal build, it feels like it could be made of aluminum, but I really don't know. It even has a lock on it. Put the lock up here, now you can't flip it at all. Nice protection if you have kids around. Does have a liner lock, and for probably less than $15, this will probably get the job done. Opening boxes, cutting cordage every now and again. Maybe that's gonna be something that's gonna get the job done. I realize that there's a lot of ladies that ask me for suggestions for cutting devices, but they don't necessarily want it to be a folder. So of course I think, well, fixed blade. Get a fixed blade, it's gonna be great, but why even consider anything like that when you can make a suggestion as simple as the Gerber Pry Bread X, usually $27 or less. You can oftentimes find this thing sub $20 if you just wait it out. Made of aluminum. Numbers uses a number 11 X-Acto blade on this thing. It's just a sound little tool that's not even really an EDC knife. Yeah, she could slip this in her purse. You can slip this in your pocket. You can really just leave this in a kitchen junk drawer and have an Amazon box warrior, have a slotted screwdriver, a nail puller, a bottle opener, and it's really just a nice all-in-one tool. And now she feels like she's prepared something other than scissors. Next, we have got to talk about the Ozark Trail $5.95 super sound knife. Does have a pivot lock on it. Sometimes the action isn't so great. Most of the times it works just fine. I have no clue what steel this is. I suspect it is 440A or B. Maybe AUS 8. There's only been a few cutting tasks this did not work for. Super thick cardboard that had like staples in it. This really didn't handle that very well. But everything else, it seemed to do just fine. Can you really complain for $5.95? Even sticking with the no-name brand, JSWS, some company reached out to me. They wanted to send me this knife for free. I told them no, so I bought it with my own money. And this thing has been great. It has fantastic scales on it. G10 scales. It even has like a little orange around some of the hardware, around the actual pivot for the hardware. And this thing also has a pivot lock on it. It has really good action. You can activate it with the actual pivot, or you can just use the thumb studs. And the steel on this thing, no clue. I suspect it's like a 440C. It's kind of vague online. I think they may have even mentioned it as a D2, but this thing gets the cutting task done as well. I got this thing for like 11 bucks after a discount code. Even without the discount code, it's like $17. But you're still kind of teetering on no name, X-Acto blades. Maybe you don't want any of that stuff. Well, I mean, the Civivi Mini Praxis is a name brand. We Knives and Civivi have been doing this for quite a while. And this has some nice bearings on the actual knife itself. The grind on it is great. The flipper is awesome. Has a liner lock. It does feel a little thonky, kind of like a keyboard when you're closing it, but it still looks pretty nice. The coating on the blade, the scales feel really good. Nice OD green color. This is a contender. If you really want a name brand and you want something, you can usually get this thing for sub $30. But what if you want to step it up? You know, you're really wanting to make that suggestion. You're an EDC guy. You're trying to make a suggestion to somebody. You don't want to believe that there is a point of diminishing return with knives, but there is one. Is it the next category? Maybe. This is the category between $35 and $100. The first one I start with is the Ontario Rat 1. Aus 8 steel, so completely budget steel. Great thumb studs, great action, a liner lock, jipping on the back. Feels like you can really get up on this thing. The blade on this thing is over 3 inches long, and the scales feel great. The hardware is completely exposed. You can carry this thing left or right-handed, tip down if you wanted to for some crazy reason. A solid knife. I carried this thing, got rid of my bug out for several weeks, carried this thing and had zero complaints. Or the Ontario Knife Company, they've been pumping out knives for years quietly out of Ontario, New York. They make some knives in the USA, some knives in China. Speaking of made in China, the Vodsteed Nightshade. Absolutely unique looking knife. A nice talking point. Normally you can get this thing around 35 bucks. And G10 scales, a nice flipper on it, full flat grind. I mean, this is a apple slicing beast. Do you care about that? It does have 154 cm steel, so this is more of moving up towards the mid-grade, getting away from that budget steel. Still feels a little thonky. Still feels it sounds a little cheap when it comes down. I don't know if you know that, but will your buddy really care? Are you getting any more returns with moving up in categories? In this same category, I would even put the Benchmade Mini Griptilian. One of my favorite EDC knives. MSRP on this thing is $99. I got it for 89 bucks because of the Benchmade name. It oftentimes surpasses the $100 mark. Would I ever suggest paying more than $100 for this? No. Even with S30V steel, which is starting to kiss up on the high grade of steel, still wouldn't recommend it. Axis lock, that's their version of a pivot lock on this thing. Very nice action, nice scales. You can also flip this thing around and carry it left-handed. It forces you to carry tip up, which is what you should be doing anyway. This category just still has even more that goes along with it, because you've got to stick with the American made, and we look at the Buck 112 Plus. This has a fantastic sound when you open it. S30V steel as well, USA made Buck. Fantastic knife to take with you hunting. I love this knife. At $99, sometimes creeping more than a $99, would I suggest this? Are you getting anything more out of paying 99 bucks than this thing than the Ontario Rat? But if you want something even more unique, you can look at the Kershaw Leak. This thing coming in normally $79 for the raw copper version. You can get the non-copper, just the G10 scales for 59 bucks. All the hardware exposed, very unique flipping action. You can also use the thumb stud on this thing. Do you need to really get something like this? Is this going to be a practical item to have other than the talking pieces? A Ken Onion design in collaboration with Kershaw engineers. I oftentimes convince myself to suggest the high-end knife. If he buys it, he's not going to need another knife for years. But why? Why would I suggest that he or she go out and buy the 06 Fast Auto by Gerber? USA made Tanto style combo edge blade with partial serration, has a safety on it. You got to make sure it's legal in your state, but once you make sure it's legal, I suggest this thing all the time. I've literally had this knife for 15 years and it works just fine every time. But at $180, what else are you getting out of this thing? Yeah, it has a built-in glass breaker, a actually decent lanyard hole. All the hardware is reasonably accessible. Very, very high grade of build on the scales, S30V steel for the actual blade. All around a banger. And you're paying for those things, but do you need all of them? Do you need the S45 VN steel on a Spyderco PM2? The coating is fantastic, made in Golden, Colorado. Spidey flick, the hoe, a talking piece. Use your thumb, use your index, use your middle finger, whichever one you want to do. Do you need all of this? Maybe not. This probably has my favorite actual lanyard hole. You can actually run some real 550 core through this thing, really deck this thing out. So many mods can be done with this knife. Flotanium, copper scales, all sorts of stuff. You can carry this thing left, right, tip up, tip down. Great service, great warranty. But do you want to pay $190, $180, sometimes $200 for this? What about the V-Knives Poseidon with a satin finish on titanium scales, has blue hardware, blue thumb studs, a liner lock. This is a lovely knife. I love carrying this thing. And although it is $225, they're only using 154 cm steel. Has it failed me? No. But do I wish it, kind of gave me more bang for the buck? Maybe. One of my favorite looking lanyard holes, it even has this like cascading lanyard hole effect. Kind of looks like the ocean, i.e. the name Poseidon. The Benchmade Mini Freak basically feels like a super upgraded mini Griptilian. I love this knife. Fantastic, has the best action of almost any of my knives. The opening action, the closing action, super premium steel at S90V. Feels great in the hand. You can carry this thing left or right pocket. It does force you to carry tip up, which is what you should be doing anyway. And it has these red thumb studs, red spacers, great pivot, great lock. $225 is probably what you're going to be paying for this thing. Probably even more than that. But if you really want to have your buddy get a one and done knife, you can even suggest the Benchmade Tengu Tool Gold Class. I spent $350 when I got this thing. Damascus steel on this thing. This is number 19 out of the production. I think they only made 300. This is a Jay Osser collaboration with Benchmade, and it feels great. Has a knife, a slotted screwdriver, a bottle opener, and I rarely use it. This thing is now pricing over $700. Has a nice little sheath that it came with. When it comes to making a suggestion or when it comes to buying knives, even if you're going to start collecting them yourself, the point of diminishing returns, in my opinion, is probably between the $50 and $100 mark. There are so many knives on the market nowadays that spending south of $100, maybe north of $50, you're going to get a quality knife. You can even find knives that are American made, whether that be Buck or Benchmade, or you can get a Spyderco that costs less than $100. But once you pass that $100 mark, you're starting to pay for things you don't necessarily need. The Zons, the Chavez, the more expensive Benchmades, the Spydercos, the big chunky knives. What are they really getting you once you pass the $100 mark? Not very much. Premium steels are great. Premium finishes are fantastic. Techniques for the grind, that's great. If you're going to just kind of keep yourself humble, if you want to make that suggestion to a buddy, or if you just want to keep a collection for yourself but not break the bank, once you pass the $100 mark, it's not really worth it. But if you love this shit, buy what you want. That is what I do. There are knives that I want that I purchase. There are knives that I do not have that I will get. They will cost more than $100. And if you don't like it, pound sand. I understand that over a certain point, diminishing returns have kicked in, and I'm still going to make it happen anyway. But if you're that guy, you're trying to get into the habit, if you're trying into the of keeping a folder in your pocket, know that you don't really need to spend over $100 to have a reliable knife in your pocket. I think that's it. That's all I really got to say. I'm gonna put my knives away now.